We'll call this meeting to order here in the Nat U Hill. Welcome all. I want to note for the record, initially we had Councilor Iverson in the room, as well as Councilor Wilt, Councilor Crossley, Councilor Munson, and Councilor McKim. I'd ask that all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, looking to our agenda and item number 3, does any counselor wish to make amendments to the agenda? I have a couple myself, but want to open it up for other counselors. While we think on that, I'll just go ahead and offer mine. We would like to remove I'd like to remove item 7B because it's an in-house transfer request, not a category transfer request. If there's no objections to that from council. Okay. No objections, so ordered. I'd also like to request that we add agenda item 11B, a request from the auditor to approve changes to job descriptions for the administrative assistant to the council and administrative assistant to the commissioners. Without objections on that one? None, so ordered. All right, any other changes to the agenda by council members? Seeing none, we'll go, we need to ratify the changes there with a voice vote.
Voice vote, all are present.
All right. All those in favor of the agenda as adopted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we have our agenda for today. Next, we'll go to public comment, and this is for items not on the agenda. There'll be a time limit of 3 minutes per speaker from those participating. And if you wish to comment, you can do so here in the Nat U Hill by coming forward or raise your hand on Teams and we will recognize you. So anyone wishing to make a public comment, now is your opportunity in the room. You can come forward to this podium or raise your hand on Teams. Always like to note that all are welcome to offer public comment here at the Nat U Hill. Seeing no public comment, we'll go ahead and move along to department updates. And I know we have a few in the hopper here. So E. Sensenstein from Employee Services is here, and we want to welcome you for your update.
Good evening, Council. I just wanted to update you. A few meetings ago, Molly had talked to you about our plans to implement a parental leave policy. So that went to the commissioners a couple weeks ago. But as part of our research we looked at a lot of local employers and what they were offering. We also looked at third-party vendors and how they manage that type of thing. And one of the third-party vendors offered some parental support services as part of the parental leave. And so we thought that that was a really good benefit to offer to employees. So I just wanted to update you that we are in the process of working that out with a local organization. It's Tandem Community Birth Center. And Kim, is there? No, that's fine. And so our goal would be, what Tandem provides is support services.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
wrong person.
no problem. So what Tandem provides is support services to either before the child is born and then afterwards, and then also helps transition them back into work. And so they do they'll do some emotional support and also some physical support in the home for those employees. And what we would be looking at is based on our employee count, on on average, we would anticipate about 20 employees every year having a child. And so then we would be wanting to offer, they would get sort of an allotted amount that they could spend at Tandem. Tandem would invoice us, and then we would they would get those services provided through them. So I wanted to give you that update, let you know that that's coming. Molly and I are working on an agreement with them, and then we'll bring that back to you to talk about funding. But just wanted to let you know. Do you have questions or anything? We can save that, but
Let's see. Counselors, do you have any questions or comments or thoughts or anything? Counselor Wiltz.
Thank you for doing so much legwork on this. I know that we've talked about it for several years, so it's really great to see this happening. I'm 100% supportive. I didn't realize we would have 20 people a year, though. That's very fertile, is what that is.
yeah, I mean, that's on the high end. I think it's like between like 15 and 20.
Okay, that's great.
I mean, we have about, I don't know, 600 full-time employees, so.
My question is Tandem handling, is what you described, I have two questions. Is what you described the entire role of Tandem? So just providing support services, they're not involved in tracking or calculating or any of the HR components?
No, they would just be, this is an agreement, they do what they are specialized at doing. We're gonna do all of that other stuff with, employees applying to utilize the services,
Right,
and then referring them over there and handling the financial aspect of it as well.
And when you say that they provide in-home and out-of-home and transition services, can you describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, and there's, I had planned to have someone from Tandem here. I've been working on scheduling and things with her, and it hasn't worked out. I can give you a flyer that they actually have started. They provide these services just as their organization in general, but they are working with employers locally. So this is something they are partnering with other employers as well to provide this. And so they do basically doula services within the home. So they're going to go in there, they're going to provide whatever type of support the employee needs. Then they're also providing they'll do classes and trainings at their location, so that's something that's always available. They'll do anything you can think of that would support a person that is having a child or just had a child, they basically provide it. And that's, go ahead, Molly.
Is it the flyer that you sent me?
Yes, do you have it?
Yeah, I can display it.
Cool,
Thank you, I appreciate that.
no problem.
Other questions or comments from counselors? Well, as you have noted, we have been talking about this a lot over the years, and particularly as we reach each budget, we kind of check in on this. So I appreciate very much the update, and I think that's the sentiment here. There's no other questions or comments? Yes.
Can I ask a question about something else? I was, sorry, I was just wondering if you'd be able to give a quick update on payroll for county employees, given the challenges recently.
Sure. It is being processed as we speak. Amy is, I think when I came over here, she had just, payrolls, there's like 3 sections to doing it, and she had finished the first main section, which was everybody's main pay. So that's been processed in Lao and uploaded to the bank. So that is our role in the process. What happens from there, is the treasurer's office, and I believe that everything is in place for that to happen the way that it should.
Great work.
I'm
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
on a
work,
Tuesday, getting it done by Tuesday, we usually do it on Monday. So given everything that happened and us still getting it done on Tuesday, we're in good shape. Yeah.
Thank you.
Question. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you. Oh, yeah.
Going back to Counselor Wiltz's question, I was going to display the flyer, but then I realized there aren't that many monitors to look at. So
The flyer says what we do, and it provides support, emotional and physical recovery after birth, provides newborn care, offers hands-on infant care, including feeding, burping, bathing, diapering, offers sleep support, light meal beverage prep, overnight care, runs errands, light housework support, and more.
I need one of these.
Yeah.
Now. Wow, that's great.
And just if you want to talk about financially too, just so you have an update of what we'll be bringing to the table. When I talked to Julie, the executive director, she said that someone that has a child and has basically the most intensive like giving them the most intensive services is about $3,000. So it'd be, then that's about 100 hours of them being in there providing that support to them. So that's what we would be there. The flyer has some like tiers options, and $2,000 was the highest one. But given the fact that Julie said, someone who has would need intensive support, the $3,000, that's what we would be coming up with for you.
I think Councilor Crossing's got a question.
Thank you. I just had it and I lost it. Is there, I would assume the timeline, once you come to council and talk to us about that, is that this would take effect next year, correct? Or
I think that that's a good question. I don't think that I had talked about that with Molly about when we would implement it. We are looking to implement we were expecting parental leave in this to kind of go in tandem, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we've discussed it yet,
Yeah.
but I think the idea is that paid parental leave would be available as soon as it gets approved by the Board of Judges and the prosecutor. The commissioners have already approved it. I received an email today that the Board of Judges approved it, and then the prosecutor and I just spoke about it. So I think that ideally by August we could have a paid parental leave policy, and I don't know if we could have tandem in place that quickly.
Okay. That's actually really good. Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, not to continue on with it.
Sure.
But I was just gonna say, like, thanks for your work. And I'm glad we as a collective body have been asking for that. I watched that meeting. There was some interesting comments. But nonetheless, I'm definitely happy that we are moving forward with this and making this happen. So thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your day. Before we move on to the next departmental update, I do want to note Councilor Hawk joins us online. Welcome, Councilor Hawk. We will next hear from Jamie Nibel, our Emergency Management Director, to give us an update on kind of where things are post the last meeting we had, councilors, as we set through that awful mess that our folks in the county have been struggling with. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, just an update on the local disaster from June 25th for the severe storm. So where we're sitting at right now, just from the very first damage assessment that was conducted in the days that followed, we're looking at 60 plus damaged homes that had multiple downed trees and power lines. And when I say damaged homes, that is a wide gamut, anything from a tree severely damaging the homes to a few shingles blown off. There's quite a array there. We're looking at probably 30 with major damage. Some of the assistance that we've provided so far is the Red Cross came in and had a resource center and did open a shelter. If anybody still is needing assistance from the Red Cross, there's a 1-800 number for that, and that is 1-877-272-7337. I'll put that in the chat whenever I'm finished, just in case. We worked with the Homeland Security for water distribution. We're still providing debris clearing with help from the Southern Baptist Convention and the Masters of Disaster. There's also a form for that for the public to fill out so that we can keep track of that and make sure that the follow-up loop is closed. There's also a form for debris pickup, which just started yesterday. There's a table that we put out in a press release by township, and that's weekly. The city is providing their own, and then the county is using a contracted vendor, which you all are aware, I'm sure. Tomorrow, we're going to work with Homeland Security once again and the Small Business Administration to do another ground survey for SBA loans. So we can get that program started, hopefully, if we meet the criteria. We're also working on possibly some public assistance to see if we can recoup some of the costs that we've incurred as a county and with the city of Bloomington as well. Just a reminder on the public assistance piece, there are thresholds, dollar amount thresholds that we have to meet before we can remotely see any kind of reimbursement. As a county, it's $642,702.80. That's the threshold that we have to meet. And as a state, to see any FEMA reimbursement, we have to reach 4 million. So that's a lot of thresholds to meet before we see anything from FEMA. So.
All right.
Any questions?
Let's see
Before
what
I
we
go,
got.
that's a lot of information, so I do apologize, but
It's important information. Counselor McKim's got his hand raised.
Yeah, thank you very much for the update. I was wondering, were there resources for, during the extended power outage, were there resources for residents, say, who had medical equipment that needed power, or who had large amounts of food maybe that was in that they were potentially losing? Just are there resources for that kind of function?
so if they were SNAP recipients, SNAP does provide a benefit to replace the lost food. Insurance companies provide some benefit, but that's highly dependent on the insurance company itself and what's written into the fine print. Other than that, not so much. As far as medical equipment goes, we did open the cooling shelters so that they could come in and charge their equipment. I know there was a lot of issues with home oxygen. The vendors that like Lincare and those places like that really encourage their patients to have an e-cylinder on hand at all times, of full e-cylinders for backup. But that's not always, I don't want to say enforced, but it's highly encouraged, if that makes sense.
How long does an e-cylinder last? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. It depends on usage. And so by the liters, you know, if you're using a non-rebreather, you can crank up the liter usage. Nasal cannula is less. I think it's about a 4 liter per minute max on a nasal cannula, but you can go up to 15 liters per minute on a non-rebreather. So it just depends on the individual.
Thank you.
Other questions? Counselor Iverson.
Yes, thank you for the updates, and it's always good to receive the updates, so whether it's in the commissioners' meetings on Wednesdays or here. We really appreciate you doing that. You know, I've been hearing from a lot of constituents. We had the derecho last year. We had the strong wind surge this year. What lessons are we learning about how to be better prepared for these storm surges?
Just trying to encourage personal preparedness. I think people were a lot better prepared for this, having gone through it once before. I know that the power companies seemed definitely better prepared. I know that Duke Energy was more Johnny on the spot this time. They did not mess around. They had their trucks en route, and they had, you know, their response time was far better, in my opinion. But I think the personal preparedness piece was tremendous, and I really give it to the public for that. They did a great job.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Wiltz.
Thank you. I wanted to jump back to the damage costs that you were citing and the thresholds for getting any aid into our community. And how does that relate to individuals in our community reporting their damage to the 211, I think was the recommended vehicle for reporting home damage. What does that get the individual, and what does that get the county, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Okay, so two different mechanisms here. The 211 is going towards that SBA piece, or it can go towards SBA or individual assistance. So we did not meet what we needed to meet for individual assistance. So we won't see FEMA coming to do damage assessment, and we won't see any funds coming from FEMA for the individual. But we will hopefully, depending on what we see tomorrow and how things go tomorrow, we will see the Small Business Association piece. And that is low interest loans for small businesses and for homeowners. It can go towards mitigation or small business losses, or towards homeowners. The thresholds that I was talking about was the public assistance piece, which is the fire departments, the county highway, and the cost for the debris removal, and those costs incurred by counties and government agencies.
Got it. Is it too late then for someone to report damage to their home?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
We're still taking that. We're kind of combining what we get with 211 and what we get from the sheets, and Justin and I are doing follow-up with those individuals to make sure that we're not missing anybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And just to make sure, I know from my own experience, but I'd love for you to confirm this. A loan from the Small Business Administration in place of the traditional FEMA public assistance threshold, which we did not meet. A loan from the Small Business Administration doesn't necessarily mean that it's only for small business, right? It's individuals and homes.
Absolutely. And it's not only for losses, it's also for mitigation.
Yeah. That's an important
So prevention.
piece.
Really important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing just for the public, when these things happen, and we always got to think about this, unfortunately, is documenting those things through whatever vehicle. I believe 211 was the outlet this time, is so crucial to figure out if we can get those dollars. And it sounds like we came up short this time.
Sometimes it happens. By qualifying for the SBA, this also will include Owen County as well, because they also had a disaster declaration and they are contiguous.
Councilor Hawk. Councilor, you're muted.
Okay, I just wanted to share with you what the form looks like when someone comes from the Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. I did not call in to 211, but perhaps one of my neighbors did. And they did stop by here, a very fine, wonderful human being that you didn't have to be afraid to speak with him. He's a local person, lives here locally, the one that came to my door. And as I understand it from his explanation, there is no personal charge to the person, that they just sign this release form so that the people have the authority to come onto your property to do this work. As it turns out, most of the tree that's down that fell from my yard fell to my neighbor's yard, so he's the one who would have to fill out the form to allow them to come on his property. But I'm not sure that people really understand yet that this could happen and that it really is the real deal, because so many times during this kind of an event, you just don't know who might be the person who's not the real deal. So I don't know how we get that message out, to not be frightened of the person with this form.
Yeah, so whenever we touch base with people, whenever they fill out our form that we put out online, and whenever we touch base back with them, we make sure that we say the name repeatedly of the people who will be touching base with them and the organizations that they're from, so that, yeah, we can try to reiterate that these guys are for real and they are here, charitable organizations that are here just doing the Lord's work, so to speak. So.
And they're typically not going to come up to that door and say, I need $25 and I'll help you fill this out, right?
Absolutely, yes. No monetary upfront anything for these guys. They are absolutely just there to do the work and be on their way.
All right.
And they're not necessarily just going by the work orders that we give them. They are also, if they're in the vicinity, they are knocking on the doors too.
Counselors, any other questions?
I wanted to reiterate there what you just said, because no, I didn't call 211, but if they see a damage, then it appears to me that they could be knocking on your door. So anyway, whatever we can do to get that message out to the local folks, that would be helpful. Thank you.
We'll work on that.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate very much this update, and I just want to know, as we're meeting tonight, the remains of the hurricane are literally passing through our state, and so these things come in all different forms and ways, and that's why we have a department tasked with figuring this out and making improvements each time and helping us to figure it out. So thank you so much for this update, and we'll keep at it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other departmental updates, either in here or online? Yes, the auditor, sorry.
Thank you. In response to the network outage on July 1, 2024, all county funds were frozen as a precautionary measure. As a result, checks presented for payment from Monday, July 1 through Tuesday, July 9, 2024 may have been returned. The county financial team was instructed to notify departments and vendors that checks could be voided and reissued. However, the bank has now determined that the returned checks may need to follow a different process than previously planned. Since the checks are returned due to frozen funds rather than insufficient funds, many banks will represent the checks and/or issue variance checks that can be cashed. The county financial team has outlined a process for affected vendors in a letter which will be mailed out Wednesday, tomorrow morning. So just wanted to provide that brief update.
Thank you much. Counselors, any questions or comments on that? Thank you for checking in with us on that and making those comments. There are many, many different things the county's confronting in the last couple of weeks. Other departmental updates, either in here or online? Seeing none, we'll move along to council liaison updates. Any counselors wishing to provide an update? Counselor Iverson.
Yes, thank you, President Deckard. I have two updates today. Last week, in regards to the opioid summit, which is happening on September 5th here at the Monroe County Convention Center, we had an initial meeting with Michelle Sills of Paragon Event Management. She's going to be helping us make sure that that is going on, and wanted council to be aware of that. The second update I bring to you is that on the commissioners' meeting of June 28th, the commissioners created the Opioid Settlement Review Commission. That body will consist of 2 representatives by the BOC, Board of Commissioners, 1 representative recommended by the Health Board, and 2 representatives recommended by this county council, one of which should have lived experience with substance use disorder. So that'll be coming down the pike, and just wanted everyone to hear that, especially since the first round of applications have been received, and we'll need to make decisions on how the council should appropriate funds to organizations doing this important work.
How many approximate applications have we received, do you think?
Ms. Gregory, do you know off the top of your head?
I don't, but I can probably give you a decent estimate if you give me just a moment.
Okay.
We'll keep moving on with liaison updates. Anyone else? We can come back in with that in just a bit. Don't worry about that now. We'll keep moving on to the agenda, consent agenda items, item 7.
Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda. Let me say that again. Council, I move to approve the following consent agenda for July 9th. The Highway Department's request in Fund 8165-0000 Vernal Pike Connector Road for the creation of a new account line 37417 Project Consultant.
Second.
All right. Are there any questions from council on the consent agenda? Any comments from the public on the consent agenda? Either come forward in the Nat U Hill to our podium or raise your hand on Teams. Okay. Seeing none, we will have a roll call on the consent agenda.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Pardon? Oh. Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Hogg?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to item number 8, a request from the Health Department.
Council, I move to approve the Health Department's request in Fund 8130-9624, Nacho Grant, for the creation of new account lines and to simultaneously approve additional appropriations in the amount of $3,431 in the supplies category and $1,569 in the services category for a total appropriation of $5,000.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Kelly, I'm looking online here.
No.
Liaisons, do you want to offer?
I can just
Sure.
tell you that, this type of grant is yet another example of the good work that this particular department is excellent at, which is bringing in money from national organizations, federal assistance as well. And this is the accrediting body for local health entities. So really great. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Any other counselors wish to make a comment or question? Thank you, Counselor Wiltz, for that. And those grants are huge. We could not do these without those grants. Literally, could not do these. All right. Let's see if there's any public comment. If you have any, come up here in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Hi, this is Julie Duhan from Tandem, and I wanted to make a public comment.
Sure thing.
So I'm from Tandem Community Birth Center and Postpartum House, and I don't know if I was supposed to be on there earlier, but I had a kid thing that went over. Anyway, I have been in contact with Elizabeth from the county to talk about potentially offering our postpartum doula benefit plan to county employees. So currently we partner with SCAP, or the South Central Community Action Program, and with Wonder Lab to provide postpartum doula services to their employees when they have a baby or just welcome a new baby into their home, whether that's through adoption, fostering, or birth. I don't know what all I can share here, if there's any opportunity for you to ask questions, but essentially a postpartum doula is someone who comes into the home and is able to assist with everything from ensuring the parents are physically and emotionally healing and adapting to their new role as parents, or to maybe they already have children, but to their expanded household size. They're helping with baby care, making sure parents are getting naps and showers, and helping with food prep, and helping with, sterilizing pumps and washing dishes and folding laundry, and just trying to really bring the village to families. So the proverbial village has really been dismantled by just the way our society is currently structured. Many people having children in our community are not geographically close to their family. They may be new to our community. Perhaps they came because of the university or some other organization here, and they may not have an extensive friend network or network of other friends or families yet, especially if this is their first foray into parenthood. And so postpartum doulas allow them to heal and adjust, and really, from an employer perspective, come back to work when their leave time is done as a much more rested and confident employee, feeling supported by their community in order to be able to resume work tasks. So we offer our services to the community on a sliding scale that goes down to $0 an hour. We use our Postpartum Doula Equity Fund, which we seek grants for every year to fund that. But we also offer this alternative model where we do employer-based benefit programs so that employers are able to sign on for doula benefits for their staff at varying levels. So I just wanted to introduce, here I can come on camera now. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm the executive director at Tandem. I invite you all to come take a tour of Tandem and see all of our resources for families in the community. And feel free to send me any questions you have about our postpartum doula benefit plan.
Thank you very much. We appreciate those comments. We are on that agenda item now, but we're very excited about the program and look forward to seeing this take off in the fall. So thank you for being with us.
Thanks. Sorry, I didn't get to hear the full agenda earlier.
You're fine. You're doing just great. All right. Is there any other public comment on item 8, the request from the health department? Okay. Counselors, let's go ahead and move to a roll call vote.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to item number 9. As we do, TSD, I don't know if you can get any more speaker volume in this room, but it may just be me. I cannot hear anyone talking.
It's pretty faint. Yeah.
It's hard.
I appreciate you all trying to figure all this out. Item 9.
Council, I move to approve the probation department's request in Fund 9123-0000 JDAI programming to create a new account lines as set out on the agenda and to simultaneously approve additional appropriations in the amount of $9,025 in the supplies category and $40,975 in the services category for a total appropriation of $50,000.
Second.
Thank you very much. And I want to welcome, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Anthony Williams, Deputy Chief Probation Officer with the Probation Department.
Have you with us?
I'm happy to come to you today for a total of $75,000 that we've received with our JDIF funds for 2024-25. This has been going on since 2014 that we've been receiving JDI funds. This particular one is going to help us with contractual obligations with Centerstone that kind of helps teens address substance abuse issues. Family Solutions that provides a parenting curriculum to youth and families in the community at no cost. People and Animals Learning Service, PALS, and the Warehouse. And then it also helps support our virtual book club and some training opportunities for staff.
All right, let's see if we've got questions from counselors. Any questions? All right. Seeing none, let's see if the public has any comments on this item. Either come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Hawk?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, item B.
Council, I move to approve the probation department's request in Fund 9122-0000 JDAI coordination to create new account lines as set out on the agenda and to simultaneously approve additional appropriations in the amount of $4,350 in the supplies category and $10,650 in the services category for a total appropriation of $15,000.
Second.
Welcome again.
Not much different here. This one just helps with training and providing meals to get people to come to meetings. Very important, you know. And then some software licensing.
Questions from council? About public comment. If you have any, come forward in the Now You Hill to this podium or raise your hand on Teams. All right, seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Hogg,
Yes.
Counselor Wilt,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay, item C.
Council, I move to approve the probation department's request in Fund 9175-0000 JDAI data analysis to create a new account line 30006 contractual and to simultaneously approve an additional appropriation and the amount of $10,000 in the services category.
Second.
All right.
This final one is just a new account that they asked us to create, but this is for our contractual agreement with our vendor to get the data and kind of report out the statistics to you guys as to how the programs are working.
Okay. And that data supplies information to not just us, but everywhere. Is that correct?
Everywhere, correct.
And that helps us attract new grant dollars and attention and pride and joy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We cannot replace those dollars, literally. And it's awesome how much comes through this council. It's always a good burden to have. Okay. Counselors, I've talked too much. Any other questions, comments? All right, let's go to the public. If you have a comment, come forward in the Now You Hill at this podium or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Hogg,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, we'll move on to item 10, a request from the Sheriff's Office.
All right, Council, I've got two parts to this motion. First, I'd like to move to approve the sheriff's request to amend the salary ordinance and Fund 1000-0005, General Fund Sheriff, to move the following account line positions from 35 to 40 hours: 15161, 15162, 15163, 15166, 15167, and 15181. Administrative Coordinator, Comment C, non-exempt, with an effective date of June 30th, 2024. And secondly, the sheriff is requesting to amend the salary ordinance and Fund 1000-0005 General Fund to add an additional administrative coordinator position. Account line 15159, 40 hours, Comment C, non-exempt, with an effective date of June 30th, 2024. This position will be funded by eliminating 2 part-time hourly positions.
Second.
All right. We want to welcome, we've got the sheriff here as well as Chief Deputy and our new AA. Sheriff, I'll leave it to you.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to you. Based on the last meeting that we had, the staff and I got back together and regroup, and particularly to be specific, it was the chief and Jamie, and they sat down and went through our budgets. And I think, based on what I understood the concerns of the council last time we were together, I think we're at a point that I think we have a plan that might accommodate the council and the sheriff's office. We try to pride ourselves to be team players, and listen very closely, and if we can, try to meet you more than halfway. And I think at this point, and they'll be specific more than I am right now, but I think we're at that point. But obviously, you will have the last say. But we really went back and dug into as much as we could. So that being said, Chief.
Okay. I guess I'll just start it off by saying, but boy, have we got a deal for you. So.
Scary.
Like slicking off the snake oil or something coming our way.
So what we took from you all when we came were a couple things that, one, obviously, when we're proposing something like that, there's the work product. Is the work there to do? And I hope we at least satisfied that part. But I think the biggest concern was the sustainability of the fiscal impact of something like this, and we all understand that. So Jamie's going to be kind of my check on here if I get off track here. But the first thing we're going to do right out the gate here is remove that request to combine the two part-time positions into one full-time position. And what that does for us, if you look at, we're going off the fiscal impacts that Kim's office was kind enough to provide us and gave us very detailed information, and thank you for that. So what that does for us is right out of the gate for this year, that takes a little over $15,000 off the fiscal impact of that. And then also for the coming years, it completely removes that from the fiscal impact because we will simply not go through with that transfer or that combining of those two positions. So now what we are back to is strictly just moving the current 6 employees that we have from 35 hours to 45 hours, or to 40 hours. And I think the discussion was we wanted to deal with that through the budget, and that's what we intend to do here today for you. So if you look at the numbers that Kim provided for us, it totaled up for the 6 office staff to do that for the remainder of this year, totaled up to $24,798, just under $25,000. And for the 2 civil process officers, that totaled up to $8,333 for the rest of this year to make that conversion. Am I on track here, right? Yes. Okay, so that totals up to $33,131 for the fiscal impact of that for this year. Is everybody following with me here? No. So,
I'm sorry. Is there somewhere I can actually see those numbers in the analysis that we received?
It should be in. Did this go into their packets with them?
It's on page 23 of the packet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it. I just want to see that number.
Okay, so if you go to where we're dropping off the new administrative coordinator position, that's you'll see that it's 15,266. It's on the proposed additional position, eliminate 2 part-time and add 1 full-time. So that's where we're dropping that off.
Okay, I do see that.
Okay, so now if you go back and you start on the first page of the analysis that Kim did for us, you'll see over in the yellow, you'll see remaining payroll claims 13, and they'll have each one of these positions. And one's for the rest of the year is 4589, one's for 4187, and you tally those all up, and those 6 positions of those yellow boxes, if you tally that up, that will come to 24,798. Go ahead.
On the top of page 23, which is what you're referencing now, we have a total fiscal impact of 40,064, and I'm having a little bit of confusion. I'm sure it's my fault. However, I just wanted to clarify that we're all on the same page here.
If you minus the 15,266 out of that, you'll come up with 24,798, which is also what you'll come up with if you add up these 6 yellow boxes of 4589, 4187, 4187, 3623, 4025, and 4187. So those, that's the double check. So we're taking 15,000 off of that 40,064. That brings you to 24,798.
Okay, I get that number exactly.
Okay. So that was our check and balance here. You subtract it from one, then you add up to those, they come to the same number. That's the new fiscal impact without combining those two positions of 24,798. Now, where I got the 833 is the following page where they're talking about the civil process servers. And that's right in the upper right-hand corner. So that is, if you'll see in the yellow boxes, you add those two up, you get to 833.
That's on page 27 of the packet.
Yeah, mine's not page numbered for some, whatever it is.
Well, this is in the packet, and you probably don't have.
Yeah, I don't have page numbers, so I apologize for that.
And Michelle, are we able to share that in any way? So that so counselors can follow? I mean, we're down a screen here, but we could probably.
We could see it up there.
Locked.
That's really great.
And if that is not possible, don't be afraid to say we're having a technology issue. And we cannot do it.
ESD, can you allow me to share my screen?
Hold on, I just shared mine.
Oh, look at that.
Sorry, was that bottom line number then 33,131?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'm driving, but I need your directions.
Okay. All right, so you see in the upper right-hand corner, the 8,333. That's the fiscal impact to add, to convert the civil process servers for the rest of this year from 35 to 40 hours. You'll see that if you look at the yellow boxes there on the right, you'll see there's, if you add 4,088 and 4245, you'll come up with this 8,333. And that's where Kim came up with that number in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, are we all there?
So new total fiscal impact is 8,333.
For those
So-
two positions.
For those two. Okay.
For those two positions. So now we have determined that to change the 6 positions for the remainder of 2024 is 24,798. To change the 2 civil process servers for the remainder of 2024 is 8,333, and that brings you to a total of 33,131 for the total fiscal impact of those 8 positions for the remainder of 2024. So here's our solution to that. We have, go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
just want to pause you just real quick, because what's in the packet in big red letters is a different number than what you just said. So I just want to make really clear to the public that we're all on the same page.
You're talking about in the upper right there, this 40,000?
I am.
Okay. Because we eliminated the position of combining the 2 positions to create one full-time position, if you'll look on page, the page before this, scroll up there. I think it went too far. You're driving too fast.
Nope. You want the part-time one?
Yes.
Go to the
it's over on the
part-time
right.
one where it's 2 part-times. Keep going.
Here we go.
Okay, so you see that box there, the yellow box, proposed fiscal impact for remaining 13 payroll claims. That's 15,266. That number is included in this 40,000 in the upper right-hand number. So you subtract it out. That's where you come up with the new number that I'm telling you of 24,798. Okay. So Now, this is Phil Parker's math, and I'm from Greene County, so give me a little leeway here.
Hey.
So to be
Careful. Hey.
You're from Greene County, too.
the strongest math we've seen.
So that new number is 33,131 for the fiscal impact of changing 8 positions from 35 hours to 40 hours for the remainder of 2024. Kim's nodding her head, so the Greene County folks agree. So here's our proposal. In our line item for part-time salaries for remaining, what we have remaining this year, sits right at $53,000. We would ask to reduce that to $20,000 this year, so you could take the $33,000 out of that line item to fund this.
Which line item was that? I'm sorry.
It's for our part-time salary line item. Therefore, it becomes cost neutral, done through the budget. So
cost neutral for, okay. Oh, sorry, Councilor Wilson. Yeah.
Will those lines be removed from your future budget?
that's next.
Okay.
So for 2025, so we're through 2024, we're going through 2025 now. So if you go on, the same documents here. Now, I don't think Kim put us totals in the upper right-hand corner for 2025 because she didn't know this was coming. So somebody may have to grab a calculator. But if you'll see on the same documents that Councilor Iverson had up, there is the blue boxes has the estimated total annual fiscal impact. And if you add all those blue boxes up, for the 6 staff that we talked about, the office staff, that comes up to $49,594. And then if you add in the 2 civil process officers, that comes to $16,662. You add those 2 together, you get $66,256. So the cost of doing this going forward in the next budget year is going to be $66,256. So if we need to take a pause to do some math, we can. So have you went through any of that yet, Councilor McKim? Or
I mean, I agree with those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, that matches.
So here's our solution for that going forward. In our annual budget, we went through the past several annual budgets. We have budgeted $75,000 in part-time salary. We will reduce that going forward to $10,000. So or whatever it takes to get the 66, maybe 8,000, 8,500 or whatever. I chose 10,000 as a round number. That way, as we go forward in our budget, we will not have that line item sitting at 75,000 again. So, and Jamie really put a lot of work into this, and our logic is simply this. As we went through it, we knew the sustainability concerns. And what we really, when you started thinking through it, if we're adding these hours to these positions, and it's mainly the clerical staff, obviously the guys out there in the field serving the papers there, it's going to be very, very helpful because we get a lot of court service. But we're going to get 30 extra hours out of that per work week. So that's awful close to another full-time employee. So that's the reason we shuffled off adding those 2 positions together. Therefore, and we also will no longer have a need for a lot of part-time work. So we can therefore reduce that part-time salary budget, because the whole idea here was to have another employee, which the 30 hours basically gives us, and we come out on the other end of this with very little cost to the county, handled through the budget, much in the way that I think Councilor Wiltz had kind of proposed for us to do. So that's I told you I had a deal for you.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you for working through that math in addition to all the duties you got. So let's see if counselors have comments, questions, things they want to bring up. Counselor Munson.
I think it would be very helpful next go-round for you to include a page that shows the additions that you've talked about, but we can't see what's added up on paper.
Well, I've been happy to do that, but I found out today we're doing this evening.
Okay. Okay. So next time.
Yes.
Next time. And it's hard for the public to hear these numbers and not be able to see something. So that's why I asked that.
Actually, I stand corrected. We found out yesterday. So we got together at 6:30 this morning and did all this. So I apologize for not having it in the packet for you, but it just wasn't possible.
Right. So, but none of us can add up blue boxes on the fly. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Munson. Counselor Crossley.
I don't know if this is directed to you all or Ms. Turner King, but my head is swimming. So there's a lot that I'm trying to process here. I don't know if my braids are too tight, but correct me, just for people who might be paying attention to the meeting, we had talked about 35 to 40 hours. That's noise. 35 to 40 hours because of the exempt, non-exempt things that we have to do. And I know we had to table this, and we also had to table other departments as well. Help me make sense. Like, is this something? Because to be fair, if this is something that we've tabled for other departments, and everybody's making a case for their particular department. But I thought that we were going to address this change coming up here soon. Am I wrong?
So the last time we talked, the last time the sheriff's office presented this change from 35 to 40, it was in a meeting where I discussed potential changes that we would have to consider making in regards to the federal changes to FLSA. Mm-hmm. That change applies to exempt employees, and it changes the minimum salary that we have to pay for exempt employees. At the time, we had gone through and we looked at potentially how many exempt employees were going to be impacted, and we were in the process of trying to figure out how we would change the grids to make those minimum salaries. Since then, we re-looked at it, and I think the major category of employees that we thought were impacted are not going to be impacted, because rather than being exempt or non-exempt, they are excluded. So the change does not impact them. And so I don't think we have as many employees that we will have to change the minimum. We don't have as many employees who are exempt that have to change the minimum salary. We did look at it for July 1st, and all of our exempt employees are making beyond what the minimum salary is for July 1st. There'll be some changes to meet the January 1st minimum, but again, not to as many employees as we originally thought.
Okay.
I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, I might have another question here
Okay.
a little bit.
Counselor Wiltz.
To follow along then, the changes that you're talking about, though, would be changes we're making to exempt positions.
Correct.
And these positions are non-exempt.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Just want to make sure I had that.
Yes.
There's a lot.
Counselor Munson.
So, question, please. What does excluded mean?
Excluded applies to employees that are usually appointed. So, for example, a chief deputy or a court reporter, because they're appointed by a judge.
Thank you.
So those rules don't apply to appointed.
Yes.
Got Counselor Munson next, and then
No,
I got you. Counselor McKim, and then I'll go this way.
Yeah, just on the request itself, yeah, I'm definitely inclined to support this. I appreciate the thought you put into making it essentially budget neutral, and I think if it's essentially going to be budget neutral, I'd rather you have the staffing structure that makes sense for your department. So in general, I support moving from 35 to 40 hours anyway. So yeah, this seems like a good path forward to me.
Councilor Iverson.
My comments are much in the same vein. We've been receiving a lot of requests from departments to go from 35 to 40 hours. By my estimation, you're one of the first to come forward with a scenario by which we can make a big change like this and make it budget neutral. So thank you for putting in the effort at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. Well done. So again, I'm very encouraged by that, and I see no reason to not support this. I appreciate you doing this, and I hope other departments are watching.
Other councilors' comments? Councilor Wiltz.
So you are reducing your part-time line, so you're going to have less to work with when it comes to part-time. How much of that part-time line was used for this clerical administrative pool?
Well, at one point we had, at least since I've been here, we had 2 part-time individuals coming in at any given time. We still have 1, but we had 1 person resign from the agency. That leaves us a vacancy full-time. We had the 2 part-times. One of those individuals resigned. So in the past, we've been using that part-time line very regularly throughout the year, but we're going to fill that vacancy, and with the additional hours, like I said, that 30 hours alone should bring us up with a pretty nice ability. It's like adding another body there. So we think, I mean, it's a difference of 10 hours a week, but we think we can make that work and no longer have to utilize the part-time. Because I got to tell you, part-time also, it's very difficult to find part-time employees. It just is. So more times than not, if one of those individuals leave, we have a hard time filling it, and it takes us an exorbitant amount of time to fill it. So our whole idea here was we can come out basically equal, use our own budget to do it, thereby not putting the council in the place of, okay, we got to figure something out for you guys. We'll figure it out for ourselves. And, Jamie may have to step in here. She runs the office. But we're very confident that this will provide the solution for both ends of that, getting our folks to 40 hours, really a 3-part solution, eliminating the need for part-time positions, which are hard to fill and hard to retain, and then getting the additional work hours that we need to carry up with the workload.
And it'll help eliminate like the comp time, because we have people working over the 35 hours. Now it'll just be the straight time. Overtime that we have, there are some people who are working over 80 hours in the pay period now. So that'll eliminate that as well.
That was my next question. Thanks.
Art. Councilor Hawk, you are next.
Yes. I was just going to make the case that some of which they have now mentioned after I raised my hand, that they won't be having the kind of overtime comp time building up because they'll be paying it out in regular time. And also, if those folks that are going from 35 to 40 hours, if they're on insurance, that doesn't mean their insurance cost is going to go up. but it may very well keep us from having to hire a full-time person, which then the benefit cost goes up because you have the additional person. So, I mean, kudos to the Sheriff's Department for really getting into that budget. But I want to caution us into understanding they already had places that they could make adjustments and say we could do better rather than having so much in part-time or comp time or what. We'll pull it back into those that are already serving. Not every department will have that option. So the larger departments might have places they can move dollars around, such as Sheriff's Department, but the smaller departments will not. But I certainly would support this because it makes a lot of logical common sense.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hawk. I have some comments, but I want to make sure I've let other councilors talk. One thing I absolutely hate about this job is when we are unable to help another elected official or department figure out how to do something they absolutely want to do for their efficiency, because we have to think about our duty, which is to the taxpayer and sustainability of that over year after year. And I tend to be very on the employee side of the ledger, and I think some of that's because I came from a county employee as a child, and so I saw the flip side of things in my home growing up. What I appreciate today, and I didn't know that we were going to get this, what I appreciate today is the problem solving that you all have done at 6:30 and a lot of headaches that you've had because you've helped us figure this out. Last December, we had a COLA discussion. Actually, let me rephrase. We had a COLA that we did that we wanted to do, and we did that because elected officials and departments came in and said, here's how we will help you reach this. So today you've presented to us how you efficiently want to do this. I appreciate that, Sheriff. I appreciate the math of it. This sort of reminds me of, I don't know if you all remember that movie Dave, where they figured out how to save a program at the cabinet. Well, as a kid, that inspired me so much. And people think government can't work like that. Actually, it kind of just did. And so for me, you kind of answered a few of those questions there by doing the math on this. And what's more, you're figuring out a way to be more efficient around comp time and part-time the way the department wants to be. If we ever get into tougher times, these things get a lot harder. That's why I'm always yelling and singing about grants, because that's a no-brainer. But this, to me, seems like we might have figured this out for you all to do what you want to do and for us to get what we need to get so we can sleep at night a little bit more comfortably on the finances. All right, I'll stop talking. Any other council comments, questions? Councilor McKim.
Yeah, so the initial motion included that new administrative coordinator line that we're not now being asked to. Council asked unanimous consent to amend the motion on the floor to eliminate the requested line 15159, administrative coordinator.
Second.
Motion and a second to amend the motion. Any comments on that, just to make sure we're okay? Let's go to a roll call on the, roll call because we're not all present.
I'm sorry, who seconded? I didn't, thank you. A roll call on the amendment to remove line 15159. Counselor Wiltz?
Yes.
Counselor Iverson?
Yes.
Counselor Crossley?
Yes.
Counselor Hogg?
Yes.
Counselor McKim?
Yes.
Counselor Deckard?
Yes.
Counselor Munson?
Yes.
All right.
Motion passed unanimous.
We got an underlying amended motion now on the sheriff's request. Any other discussion or comments on this? Thank you, Councilor McKim, for doing that. All right, let's see if the public has some comments on this. Members of the public, you can come forward here in the Nat U Hill. or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote on the underlying motion.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. Now, that takes us to item B.
Council, I move to approve the sheriff's request to amend salary ordinance and Fund 1000-0005, General Fund Sheriff, to move the following account line positions from 35 to 40 hours, 15-110 and 15-120, Civil Process Server, Civ Pol B, non-exempt, with an effective date of June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Okay. Sheriff or Chief Deputy, however this works.
Pretty much already.
Same
We
way.
already discussed this.
It was already
I can
covered.
explain the math again, but
Let's do that one more time. Any follow-up questions, counselors? We good? All right. On this, let's go to comments from the public. If you have any, come forward to Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right. Item C.
Council, I move to approve the sheriff's request to deappropriate and Fund 1000-0005, General Fund Sheriff, and account line 17101, overtime, in the amount of $4,493.06.
Second.
All right.
And I'm going to do this for them.
Okay.
This is being brought back because when it was first requested in the legal ad for a deappropriation, the wrong account number was advertised. So this is for a process that they had asked maybe a couple meetings ago. So this is just to bring that request forward with the correct account number and fund.
Questions from council? We're good? All right, let's see if the public has comments. Raise your hand on Teams or come forward in the Nat U Hill. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor McKim,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Kim, can we just get with you to make sure that we make these transactions in our budget for the remainder of 2024, and then obviously we know what we need to include in our 2025 budget to make sure I'm sure someone will remind us if we don't.
I will make a note. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
See you Thursday.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 11.
Council, I move to approve the request to deappropriate and Fund 4816-0000, 2022 band capital, $9,667,101.90 in the services category, and $496,227.09 in the capital category, for a total appropriation of $10,163,328.99.
Second.
Motion and a second. We will go to discussion on this item. I don't really have a department to present it. I will note that this is a follow-up action based on council discussion, I believe about 4 weeks ago. And I'll open it to council discussion or further will. Councilor Wiltz.
I'm wondering, if the auditor or our attorney could provide a little bit of explanation as to the exact numbers here and how they relate to the appropriation for various expenditures.
Would you like a recess for that?
That would be helpful. I need to
Yeah.
pull up our financial software quickly,
Yeah.
make sure they're correct still.
I think we'll take a 10-minute recess and come back together and go from there. We are at recess. TSD, if you can make the video, show that as well. Thank you. We're going to call this meeting back from recess, and I appreciate very much giving us a chance for the auditor to and council and our staff to determine what information they may or may not need. One thing I'll just want to offer is in the last 2 weeks, the county has been under incredible duress, and that is probably not a strong enough word to say what this community has been through. And I am hopeful against hope that we have no more duress for today, tomorrow, and on. But with that, I would like to note, just for the public watching, the leadership of this council works together, sets agendas, tries to react to members' things. We have been unable to do that considerably, among other things. Literally, the agenda that we had tonight came together from some crayons and paper until we got things back in working order. And naturally, our agenda is not the focus. The service to the people of this community is, and all the form it takes. So we're glad this county's up and running and what have you. So with that in mind, given the scope and size of the motion before us, I am going to ask unanimous consent from the council that this motion be tabled indefinitely. I am going to ask if there's any objection to that. If not, I'll order it by unanimous consent.
No objection.
No objection noted. I am going to, because the item is here, I'd like to offer if any counselor does wish to make any comments to the spirit of thoughts they might have, and then we'll move on with the agenda. Counselor Wiltz.
Sure. We know that this is the result of me proposing that we do this sort of thing in an effort to become more informed about the details around property purchasing and what's going on in advance of and in consideration of any properties we might purchase for the jail. I really appreciate you tabling it, because without having very good access to the technical infrastructure for the past week in the county, and that's an understatement. We just don't have all of the information. A lot of this money was part, if not all of it, was part of a bond anticipatory note. That has been paid off. I have a lot of questions about what that means for this money and the appropriation of it. I believe it's still all appropriated, but we no longer have it out in someone else's hands. That makes me feel more confident, perhaps, about de-appropriating. But I certainly don't want to mess up, county business. I'm not trying to stonewall. I'm trying to better understand. And so thank you for letting me say that, and thank you for the opportunity to just table it until we have more information.
Thank you for your service to this community, always in that good regard. Any other counselors wishing to make a comment? Counselor Hawk. Counselor, you're still muted.
I keep clicking and it's not going. All right. I was not at the meeting during that time that this was put on the floor before. But what I could say at this point, and following up on what Councilmember Wiltz said, it continues to be what we are told is no firm decision has been made on a location. And to that end, I think that we should leave all options open to whatever location works best for the county and works best for the taxpayer. And so I hope that we don't, any of us, feel like we are locked into one place or the other. And of course, you know, one of the reasons I would be saying this is that I said for a long time, I do not support what appears to be the preferred location of the county commissioners at present.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hawk. Very much appreciate. Councilor McKim.
Thank you. And I certainly agree with Councilor Hawk that all property should still be on the table at this point. I don't think that we've really come to the point where we have the perfect location, and we may never. But I just wanted to ask Ms. Turner King just to clarify something. We already, I think, know the answer to this, but just to say it on the record, am I correct that the county council, regardless of source of funds and appropriation, the county council still has to approve the purchase of any real property over $1,000 or something like that?
Correct.
Okay.
And if you want me to, I can go ahead and find the IC code, but statutorily, that's correct.
Okay, you can email it out, but you probably already have. I just wanted to make sure we're all level set, that we still do get a vote regardless of whether the money has already been appropriated or not.
Okay. Other councilors wishing to make any comments? One thing I'll just add before we move on to this roll call on this, right? Which is right. We got a roll call on the. No, actually,
You tabled with no objections.
no objection. So before we move on to the next agenda item, thanks for catching me. Is that I appreciate always every single one of the counselors here and their effort to try to figure out how to best do their job in the service of the county and do it in the spirit that they do. I think it makes for much easier figuring on this all out. And gosh knows it's hard enough. All right. With that in mind, we will leave this item and move on to item number B of 11.
Council, I move to approve the auditor's request to approve the amended job descriptions of administrative assistant to commissioners and administrative assistant to council. The department is not seeking a classification review, but has amended descriptions based upon the needs of the department.
Second.
This is the request that was at PAC today, right? Councilor Iverson, you want to comment?
I'll give brief comments. Just that we saw these job descriptions today at noon at PAC, and it was unanimously recommended they be forwarded to council as the changes to the job descriptions we unanimously thought didn't warrant a look from WIS or reclassification.
Just for anybody watching at home, that means they literally met noon today, and then they said, let's keep this moving tonight. Councilor McKim.
And I just want to comment that I think that this is exactly the kind of ongoing maintenance of position descriptions that we want to see, so we don't wind up in 5 years with position descriptions that just don't make any sense anymore. So thank you very much to the auditor's office for bringing this forward.
Auditor, you want to, everybody's complimented you so well, you want to add to this?
Well, thank you, everybody. Just very briefly, this is kind of the completion of the original plan to revamp once the council assistant administrator position, was fulfilled, and that was kind of worked out as those duties. So, thank you for your support on this, and look forward to your hopefully approval here.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none, let's see if the public. Councilor Munson.
I just want to say I've never seen pieces of paper fly by here so fast. That's all.
For those watching at home, if you're seeing us pass papers and sign, we're literally signing the
all the appropriations.
Everything we just did. So
wow.
That's what you see. Any other comments, questions? Councilor Wiltz, did you have one?
I
I'm sorry, I am still just scanning through the red line version because we got it this afternoon and I hadn't been able to look, but I just did, so now I'm good.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you to the members of PAC that serve, Councilor McKim, Councilor Hawk, and Councilor Iverson. All right. Public, if you have any comments, come forward in the Nat U Hill or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, let's go to a roll call vote.
Counselor Munson,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Iverson,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Wiltz,
Yes.
Counselor Crossley,
Yes.
Counselor McKim.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. Let's go to council comments. Counselors wishing to make any comments. Counselor Crossley.
Thank you. The only thing that I was just gonna say is thank you to the first responders, for everybody that had helped out during the storm that literally hit us almost 2 weeks ago. I have an opportunity to have the Perry Clear Creek Volunteer Fire Department in our neighborhood, literally down the street from our house, and was able to walk down and see if people were using that as a cooling station. And they had mentioned that they hadn't had anybody, but there were people that did have oxygen and other medical supplies that needed to be hooked up. So they were there. And so just shout out to those guys that were there, just waiting for people to show up. And just for the community as a whole to really try to help. I know our neighborhood was hit pretty hard. And it also just, again, goes to show that climate change is actually a really big thing that we really should be paying really close attention to, because as it was mentioned earlier today, not even almost a year to the day that storm hit last year, we had a similar storm last year. So we really need to be paying close attention to what we are doing to Mother Earth, because she is telling us something. Thank you.
Counselor Iverson.
This month, I had a family member pass away, and that family member did not prepare anything for their end of life. This is a public service announcement to anybody listening that you do need life insurance, you do need a will, and it is not appropriate to leave that to those who are grieving. I would encourage all of you to find an attorney friend or a friend of the family. It's very quick and easy to create estate planning documents, and I would encourage everyone to do so before they're left to those who are grieving their loss. Thank you.
We're very sorry for your loss, Counselor. Other comments or questions? Counselor Munson.
So I want to do a shout out to all the neighbors throughout the county who fired up their chainsaws and cleared the roads so people could travel, so first responders could move around. We just have lots of good souls that help take care of everyone, and it was wonderful to see. We couldn't have operated without those good people working last Tuesday night.
Completely. Counselors, any other comments? I appreciate everyone and all this effort, and with that, we will say good night. We are adjourned.
Thank you.